Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really just.
I love stories like this because it's
you can scared to death.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah, there are countless stories bad enough
sex trafficking you shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination limo.
Too real.
Good evening, everybody. From the Mistake on the Lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, this is Type 3 TV. I'm your host, John Mazinski, alongside Daniel Stephen Rady.
What is up?
Not much. And Stephen Rady Buddha.
Stephen Daniel Rady.
What's going on, Buddha?
Not much. I'm trying to get my life together right now.
Yeah, how's that working out?
Trying to put a story together for you guys.
Oh, really?
No, I fucking had
Awesome.
it, but told you I got kind of fucked on a little bit ago.
Yeah, it's all right.
But yeah, other than that, it's fan-fucking-tastic.
How's your week going? How was your weekend?
It's going. How is my weekend last week?
No, I said, how was your weekend?
It was all right,
How was
I
your
guess.
week? All right, you
What
work
are
on
you
your
saying?
story, Dan.
Yes.
How was your weekend? How was your week?
Well, it was really, again, uneventful. I mean, I didn't really do a lot. It's, this time of year it starts getting, it's still warm out, obviously, but it starts getting dark earlier.
The car said it was 83 degrees on the drive over from home today, or to home.
I had to put the AC on today.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, we had that one break where I'm like, oh, I don't have to turn on the AC or a fan while I'm getting ready for the show. And then the last 2 weeks, I'm like sweating like crazy up here. It's ridiculous. Give me the fall already, damn it.
I know. I'm seriously, and I know I'll take a lot of shit for this, but I'm ready for the colder weather. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't
me too.
like when summer goes into this long.
Yeah, too much. So
Too much. It is. And not to mention, I like it when it gets cold out and freezing because then all the fucking insects and nasty shit dies off and I don't have to deal with that shit inside my house. I saw a huge centipede today that gave me a damn heart attack.
Have you, by
I
any
hate
chance,
those things.
Have you seen any, they've been like, they look like mosquitoes, but they're like, I've seen so many of these giant mosquito-like things.
They're called
around.
Canadian soldiers.
Is that what they are?
The really, really big looking mosquitoes.
Are they mosquitoes or?
No, they're not mosquitoes. They don't bite or anything, but they look
Okay.
like mosquitoes.
I got nervous because I'm like,
I was scared.
No, I just didn't want them biting the dogs. I'm not.
No,
worried
no,
about
they're
me.
not.
Yeah.
They don't bite at all, right?
What's that?
They don't bite at all, do they, the Canadian soldiers?
No. They don't give a shit about you or your kind, peasant.
That's, okay.
Well,
I know they don't
anyway,
bite you then.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see here. Let's do some news real quick. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised by the news that I saw tonight. All right, you guys want some interesting, funny, or some kind of serious news stories?
I think with the way that everything is a shit show, I'd rather have something a little more lighthearted.
All right, so
Me
okay,
too. I agree.
Okay, so real quick, out of UPI.com. Ontario woman wakes up to find a meteorite landing on her pillow. British Columbia woman received an unusual rude awakening when a meteorite crashed through her roof and landed on her pillow. Ruth Hamilton said she was asleep at her golden home when she became vaguely aware of her dog barking in the house. The next thing was just a huge explosion and debris all over my face, she told CBC News. Hamilton said she got out of bed and turned on the lights, and it revealing something had punched a hole in her ceiling. So
It's just that's what I say. I'm like, I'm about to shoot some debris.
Oh, dirty thoughts, dirty
Oh, come on,
thoughts.
kid. I thought we were keeping it fucking lighthearted.
I was thinking it too. I'm not going to lie. I know.
all right, moving
Wait,
on.
hold on. How are you that heavy of a sleeper that something crashes through your fucking house, lands on your pillow, and you don't wake up, Natalie?
Well, Well, all right. So then it says Hamilton said that the melon-sized space rock had landed inches away from her head. She said, "I didn't know what else to do, so I called 911. Talking to the operator, she was asking me all kinds of questions, and at that point, I rolled back one of the two pillows I had been sleeping on, and between them was a meteorite." How did she figure it was a meteorite? And
Well,
not like
is-
a Joe Dirt meteorite?
This is virtually the second week in a row that I can use the Big Bully reference, which I'm sure you two did not brush up on. So therefore,
No.
it's lost.
I'm sorry, I'm not a huge Tom Arnold fan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were fucking cooler than you are.
Rick Moranis.
Yeah, Rick Moranis.
All right. Well, in that case.
Anyway.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, Buddha, I know you kind of like these ones here. Statues from a British garden identified as ancient Egyptian. They sell for $265,510. A pair of statues from a British garden initially were believed to be 18th century replica Egyptian artifacts, but fetched $265,510 at an auction after they were suspected to be thousands of years old. Mander auctioneers said a couple of moving out of their England home contracted the auction house to sell off the items from the home they were vacating, and among them were a pair of Sphinx statues that had spent 15 years in the couple's garden. The couple said the statues were purchased from another auctioneer a few $100s and were believed to be 18th century replicas of ancient Egyptian artifacts. Imagine having something that old and not even knowing about it. I mean, we do kind of collect antiques. Dan is on the show, so.
I was waiting for it.
Oh.
Yeah. All right,
Oh,
sorry,
you guys, man.
All right, sorry, Dan.
Motherfuckers. Oh.
Let's see here.
Somebody's pissing vinegar tonight.
Oh, man.
All right.
Did you guys see that? It's an old article, but it was like years old. But for some reason, it just randomly popped up for me. There was like a Da Vinci painting that sold for was like $13,000 or something, and then they got it appraised, and it was like $593 million. It ended up
Jeez.
selling for again.
500
Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry. Like, I know I get it. He's like a really, one of, if not the most famous artist of all time, but $600 million for a picture painted by him? Is it really worth that much?
Well, I would just like to point out that I'm pretty sure that the art, the super high end art sales it's just a money laundering scheme.
Right.
I mean, come on. Nobody's like, yeah, $600 million for something that looks like fucking dog shit.
Right.
Like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
This one's out of New Jersey. UFO spotted over New Jersey City may have just been drones. Residents of New Jersey spotted a series of mysterious lights in the night sky, and at least one expert said that they may have been drones practicing for a light show. Lewis Stevens says that the white lights appeared in the sky over downtown Patterson for at least 5 minutes Monday night, and Stevens and other witnesses questioned whether or not they were seeing unidentified flying objects of paranormal origin. You see it on YouTube, and it's always out in the Nevada desert somewhere. The shock of it's more like, is this really real? I mean, are we really looking at what we think we are? Stevens captured the video of the lights that was shared with the Federal Aviation Administration, which said no unusual activity was reported on over Patterson by local air traffic authorities at the time of the sighting. Probably a drone.
I wonder if there was actually one that just came out too that they said there was like a UFO in Chicago.
Really?
I saw it was
I
either
hear that one.
yesterday or 2 days ago.
There's a famous incident that we haven't talked on yet about on here, where there was a UFO supposedly over O'Hare Airport. But famous sighting.
Which is unusual because usually these sightings happen in the country away from everything. That's why I've always wondered. You never hear of a sighting over a big city like Chicago or Cleveland or anything.
Right.
I just told you about one,
I know, but I'm saying you normally don't hear that,
but you just heard.
prick.
All right.
Oh, you
It's going to
piece
be,
of
buckle
shit.
up, everybody. It's going to be a spicy one. Here we go. All right. So, in other news, extraordinary unknown radio signal from the heart of the Milky Way puzzles astronomers. Across the vast, this one's out of CNET.com, across the vast desert plains of the Western Australia, On the lands of the Wajari Yamajati people lies one of the most capable radio telescope arrays in the world. Containing 36 dish antennas, the Australian Square Kilometer Array Pathfinder, also known as ASCAP, is an eye to the universe. The 36 antennas watch for radio waves that crash over the Earth. Over the last 2 years, the antennas have on occasion been pointed toward the heart of the Milky Way, our home galaxy, and on occasion they've dedicated a highly unusual radio signal, one that does not seem to fit. It's probably just a recycled radio wave of like, I don't know, some loudness record or something. I don't know.
Is that the one that they just heard last week?
Yes. The name of the strange signal is a mouthful, known as ASCAP J173608.2-321635.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, right? It's just a recycled of Jammin' 92.3 or something. It just got reflected off of something else in space.
Oh.
Yeah. Or 107.9 The End. Remember when they did that, like, it was like 24 hours of REM or whatnot?
REM,
Yeah.
End of the World.
Yeah.
Oh.
Terrible.
Actually, a couple months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, I remember reading about some kind of radio waves or something coming from there. This is like the second time this has happened, because I remember reading about this a while ago.
Yeah. They're probably just telling us to grind something up and smoke it. All right.
So I have a question. How exactly do like radio waves reflect in space? What do they reflect off of?
You know, there's only one man that can answer that question, and I'm not sure he's ready to get called in tonight. So,
but when
if you're
they
out there
hear,
listening, send me a text if you want to get called in.
You know how they're always like, oh, you know, so and so heard radio waves, and of course they can't fucking decipher where they're from or whatever. But is it possible that radio waves were transmitted out into space and then we are just hearing them?
Yeah,
a substantial amount of time,
like coming from a satellite or
longer.
something.
There has been much talk about like what's going to be the first thing, you know, life forms out there here from us that we've broadcasted into the cosmos, you know. So I don't know, but yeah, you make a good point. Did it just bounce back and reflect back to Earth?
I'm curious just because of the amount of debris. Like,
how about all the satellites too up there?
What about them?
I mean, well, I'm saying, can't you think they're not making some kind of
You're saying like these
frequencies
things are just,
and shit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how that stuff works.
yeah, I don't know enough to give an informed answer on that. How big are the satellites that are actually in orbit?
I mean, have you seen pictures of the space junk?
Maybe.
It's all
Not
the
that I can
stuff
recall.
floating around, and it's not just what there's who's it made by? Wang Chung. That's the name of the song, Space Junk. But not just a song. I'm looking up. Yeah, it was at the end of the first Walking Dead episode. Useless information, but yeah, they there's like a picture. There's a lot of pictures where people. Is space junk a serious problem? Just the amount of shit, you know, floating around the Earth.
Humans can't even handle the fucking planet they're on. They got to start polluting space.
Yeah, seriously. All right, so another news, Buddha. Now, I don't think you're interested at this point, but I saw this one on IGN. Sony has opened up registrations to buy PS5s in the U.S. Sony has opened up a direct registration system that will give those in the U.S. a chance to purchase a PS5 this holiday season. However, not just anyone with a PSN account will be invited. According to the FAQ page, invitations are limited and will be based on previous interests and PlayStation activities. So they're saying that you can buy one, but I guess they're going to use your previous data. If you,
It sounds like they're just trying to cut out people that are reselling them.
Yeah, well, and
Which, understandable.
yeah, I would agree. I would be in support of that.
I mean, it's a dick move to do it, but that's capitalism, baby.
I mean, I finally got my hands on one, and it was like the easiest thing ever. They sent me an email saying, "Hey, your entered into the pool of people that can go into the lottery tomorrow. Click this link to enter the pool, and we'll put you in line. And I clicked the link, and I waited in the lobby for about 6 minutes, and it came up. I bought one, and that was that. So
You bought a PS5?
yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
about 2 months ago.
Oh, gotcha.
So-
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to Xbox when it comes time.
you think really?
Yeah, Xbox is so much. It's more powerful. It's a better system.
Are you
sure
also
about
a
that?
16-year-old child?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Hey, I was a PlayStation fan for years, and after the Xbox.
Yeah, now you're a
360
fucking quitter.
Yeah, damn right. Hell yeah. There's games that are available that for the Xbox that you can't get for PS5, and I know that's vice versa too. But
Name one.
It's more powerful.
Name one that isn't a multiplayer shooter.
Flight Simulator.
It's got a point,
Oh, Jesus Christ.
and that's
And
a
that's-
Microsoft
that game-
property.
Well, you're right.
What's that, John?
I said, and it's a Microsoft property.
And Gran Turismo, right?
No,
Who the
that's-
fuck wants to play Gran Turismo? This is not like 1999.
No, that's a
Come on.
PlayStation property. That's a
you-
PS5. That's a PlayStation exclusive, buddy.
It's not Gran Turismo. I can't think of the one then. The other game, the car
Gran
game.
Torino with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, it's those exclusives that are so fucking good you can't even think of the name of them.
I know. For a while there, Xbox I feel like was beating PlayStation on the exclusives, and that's kind of tipped the other way the last 3 or 4 years. But just me.
When you get a chance, look at the specs between the two, though.
What about
it is
Fable,
still a
Buddha? You
little
like
bit more
Fable,
powerful.
didn't you?
I like the first two. The third one was an abortion. And the new one that's coming out, like that studio, Lionhead, has been debunked. And what's his name? Peter Molyneux, or however you say his last name. Peter, the French guy. He's not even going to have nothing to do with it. So, I mean, it's Fable in name only.
Yeah. How's
Which,
that
I mean,
Diablo
like-
treating you?
It's just like I remember.
Do you enjoy it?
I do.
Oh.
Like you remember you were talking about wanting something mindless.
Diablo. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
It's hey Dan, why don't you go play fucking Gran Turismo?
Guy's making fun of me. He's playing an 800,000-year-old game. He's making fun of me. Listen,
Hey,
to
they
this
only-
guy.
only it, dude.
Only you remember 800,000 years ago.
Yeah, right.
No, but for sake of this conversation, I really wish that they would just do away with all the exclusives for everything. Like it's kind of fucking, it's a little childish at this point.
Yeah.
Like just let people fucking play whatever the fuck they want to play instead of having to be beholden to one system when they're virtually the same fucking thing. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know. To me it just seems like I get the idea of marketing it, but the exclusives, they never stay exclusive. Like usually now when they sign contracts, it might be like it's a PS exclusive for 1 year and then it gets made for everybody else. Like
I was shocked
who
that they
fucking
moved
cares?
Alan Wake over to PlayStation because Remedy
They
was,
released that on everything. That
Right.
came on all platforms.
Well, Remedy
I have
was,
the original one.
was an exclusive just to Microsoft.
What was?
Remedy Studios?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. And it took like 5 years to make that game.
That, and then they also did Quantum Break. I never finished it. I got, I think, pretty far in it, but
Isn't that what was supposed to be the sequel to Alan Wake? And then they ended up turning it into Quantum Break.
they may have. I'm not sure.
And then, oh shit, what is that game? Fuck, I can't remember. It just came out like maybe a year ago, and that's made by the same company, and it's actually supposed to loosely be based on like the same world as Alan Wake. I can't remember what the fuck the name of it is.
Yeah, and I've gotten a little bit into the new Alan Wake. Well, not new, but just the, I guess you could say remastering, remake. And, I mean, it's the same game, just with a new layer on it. Fresh.
But does it
fresh look
hold
to
up?
it.
I still got the.
What's that? I mean,
Oh, no,
yeah,
I-
it's a
go
good
ahead.
game, but I guess like it wasn't like when I put in Resident Evil 2, the remake like that. I mean,
Well, that was actually remade. That's why.
yeah, I mean it was just it was
That blew
everything
everybody
you wanted
away.
as a kid. Yeah, I
It
loved
was.
that game.
Yeah, that remake was fantastic.
Yeah. 7 and 8, like I said, I did not care for 7 the first few times I tried to play it, and then
I love 7.
I got the PS5 and it came free with the PlayStation Classics, and so I was like, oh, let me give this a shot. I did it, and then I was like, I got to play the next one because it had just come out, so I got to play 7 and 8 back to back, and fantastic. Did you play 8 yet, Dan?
No, I've seen shots of it, but I've not played. I played 7, and I love that. I love that view, that that first person view.
Yeah,
It's a creepy game too. I mean,
Yeah, the 7 was, or 8's not as creepy. It's a little more action packed, but still still pretty good. And it's suspenseful at some points, and it's kind of broken out into it's like almost 4 different games within this game, because you have like 4 different enemies that you have to fight, like main boss type enemies, and so one of them is like a psychological, where like all of your weapons are gone away and you're kind of like in this nightmarish state. It's really, really cool. I liked it a lot. So, but yeah. But I was thinking about getting Back for Blood, and I know you were talking earlier, you kind of poo-pooed that, so.
I don't know. I was talking about that with Al too, and like Left 4 Dead was fucking awesome. And like you were saying, it's a mindless just shooter, run around, have fun kind of shit. But it doesn't have the same like appeal that, or the new one doesn't have the same appeal that Left 4 Dead did. And I don't know, I watched the trailer and I was just kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if everybody bought it, I'd probably get it just to play it. But I mean, I'm actually kind of pumped because in February, Dying Light 2 comes out.
Yeah,
and, that first one was amazing. I played through that by myself, and then I'll say I played through that, and then like a year later, Al bought it, and I played through it with him. And I think he might have been playing through it with Pat, or they had talked about it. But that game that's a great fucking game. You could borrow that if you want that.
I tried it. I didn't care for it. But then again, like I said, I didn't care for Resident Evil 7, and then I ended up loving it. So maybe I'll give it a shot.
It's definitely way more fun playing with somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys used to play the shit out of Dead Island.
Dude, me and Al played through Dead Island again, and that was actually what I was doing the night before my wedding. We were up fucking late playing Dead Island, and we played that on the PS3, like again the second time, or however many times we played through it. But that game was fucking great. It was so glitchy, but it was still great.
Yeah. Well, I had one more news story. It was about the solar flare that erupted, because we were kind of talking about solar flares last week, but no disaster, so no news. I don't know. Anyway.
we got close to getting a meteor hitting us.
Yeah, right.
Well, I thought they said it would be, there's supposed to be one big-ass one that's going to hit in like the year 2153 or something like that.
What, a meteorite?
No.
Does it become a meteorite once it crashes or once it enters the atmosphere?
Well, that story said meteorite, so it's, I think, meteor. It's like meaty, or I sound really. I'm like sounding real smart on this right now. Yeah. I don't know.
Are you talking about the one? Like they're talking the one like 500 million years from now. They say something as large as a planet is going to hit Earth.
No,
is that what you're talking about?
No, I said in the year like 21 something. So
I
like
didn't hear
100
about
years
that
from
one.
now.
I didn't
Who
hear about
fucking
that
knows? Because like they're always like, oh yeah, by the way, hey everybody, one just missed us last week.
That's what I was. So I was getting tongue tied. But it's a meteoroid is when it's in space, not where it hasn't touched Earth. A meteor is when it reaches the atmosphere, and a meteorite is when it touches down on Earth.
Okay, I knew it was some semblance of everything that you just said.
What about a hemorrhoid?
Oh, those are always touching down.
Orbiting something else.
Yes.
All right.
Poor Buddha gets those all the time, don't you?
I not as much.
No?
It's not a laughing matter.
Well, for you, if it happens to you, it is. Just
That's
saying.
not nice. That's fucking mean.
No.
All right. So, which one of you two fools want to go first tonight?
I can go because
Do we
nobody
need more
likes
time?
either of you. No, I'm
Oh,
I'm about as prepared as I always am.
which means you're not. Okay.
It means I'm gonna wing it. There's gonna be a bunch of shit, I lost my place. all of that stuff.
And the
You guys
crickets.
know how it is. And then the crickets. All right. So this one is the Atlas Vampire, and I know you guys. I don't know. I was trying to do some type of like Halloween-esque type themed shit because it's fucking October, even though it's been 80 degrees every fucking day, so it doesn't
Right.
feel like it.
Yeah, don't worry. Next week it's probably gonna fucking snow.
No, they said
Wouldn't
like
doubt it.
60s next week.
Oh yeah.
Next
then
week is
sn-
Freddie's birthday.
Oh yeah. How old's he gonna
Yeah.
be?
Old enough to fucking party.
All right.
But he'll sleep
guys
through
would-
it.
Oh yeah, you guys better get him something. Oh, Natalie took off his birthday, so
Really?
well, she took off like a couple days next week, and it's his birthday. So
Nice.
yeah. Anyway,
Dog party.
yeah, right. The Atlas Vampire. This goes back to Stockholm in Sweden in 1932. A 32-year-old prostitute named Lily Lindstrom lived in an apartment complex in the Atlas neighborhood, which is now known as Vazistan, and she was often referred to as the call girl because she was one of the only people that had a phone at the time. Like I said, 1932. And
Dan, how old were you?
she
You guys ain't gonna quit, are you?
Sorry.
they literally called her the call girl because she had a phone. Get it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it says like clients would come by over to her flat to conduct quote unquote business, and basically it was pretty much booming. So she ended up getting a call, which was just a stranger that she didn't know, and that is a dark mystery that has remained unsolved to this day, and that's the entire story.
Well,
Not really. Anyway, so in May of that year, in May of 1932, it says Lily paid a visit to her downstairs neighbor, a woman named of Minnie Jansen, and asked her to borrow some condoms because she had a client that was scheduled to arrive. And this, it says it wasn't an uncommon thing to do, you know, in the business practice that she was in. And the fact that she was naked with just a coat thrown over herself was particularly nothing weird about that for her. So the next morning when she did not see Lily, she was not particularly alarmed. But then one day turned into another, no sign of her friend. She tried knocking on her door. She eventually just became worried and called the police. So the police come by, and basically what they found turned out to be one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in Sweden. So authorities arrived at Lily's door on May 4th, 1932, 3 days after she had been seen, and as expected, there was no response when they knocked on the door. They tried calling, there was still no response, so they eventually just let themselves in. Everything in the apartment once they first came in was like nice and clean, it was tidy, didn't look like there was any sign of a struggle, like nothing like that. So they made their way over to the bedroom, and over there is where they discovered the naked corpse of Lily Lindstrom lying face down upon her bed, clothes folded neatly on a chair next to her. Her head had been brutally beaten in, and which the death was later determined to be from trauma from some blunt object to the head, and was likely done in the midst of sex, as there was still a condom in her bum. And that wasn't even the most gruesome or just disgusting aspect of the crime. So they checked over the body, and it was found to be almost completely drained of blood. There was almost no blood splatter around the body at all. They couldn't even find any obvious way that much blood had been drained. There was no puncture marks. There was, she wasn't cut up or anything like that. And it says that there's not even a way they would have been able to drain the blood without, leaving an obvious puncture mark or even a couple drops or a splatter or anything like that. And they also did not find any way that was like painfully obvious that someone could have carried all of that blood away. So a hint to what might have happened was lying nearby in the form of a soup ladle with blood on it. And at this point, the investigators just kind of came up with the idea that whoever the killer was actually used the ladle to drink all of her blood.
Oh.
Or drink her blood, but possibly all of it. one of you guys should check this on me. Check this real quick in case you know how much blood is actually in the human body
Oh, I don't know.
on average.
Did you look that up or?
I didn't, but get back to me in a second.
All right.
So nothing out of the flat was stolen. It wasn't ransacked. It wasn't even like rummaged. Like I said, when they came through, it was actually pretty clean. And it says it almost seemed as if the killer had just been incredibly neat and discreet, in contrast to the beating that they basically put this woman through. And they even theorized that the killer was the one that actually folded Lily's clothes.
1.5 gallons.
Okay, so-
Yeah, that's what I just
1.5
saw.
Gallons, yeah.
That's a
10
decent
10
amount.
pints.
That's a decent amount to chug.
And that's just an average adult weighing like 150, 180 pounds, it says.
Well, she probably wasn't that big, but so let's just go with a gallon. But anyway, that's a lot to fucking drink in one sitting. That's like how much water I would drink in a day. You know, but hey, maybe he was really thirsty.
It's just grossing me out. Sorry.
Anyway, wait, do you have a blood issue too?
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of like makes me not woozy,
Squeamish?
but yeah, a little bit. Which is
And
weird
Dan-
because I've had blood drawn before and it didn't really affect me.
But
you gonna say
Dan, you're
Buddha?
the opposite, right? You're the opposite. You don't like your blood, but you don't mind seeing other people's
Right.
blood.
Exactly. You take blood out of
fucking
me, I'll
psychopath.
practically pass out. But those, yeah. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Anyway, so it says the media was quickly having a field day, and they're the ones that actually dubbed the name the Atlas Vampire. And at this point, you know, the police were kind of like, all right, we got a fire under our ass. We got to find a suspect, but there's barely any evidence to go off of. So it says the killer had left behind plenty of physical evidence, such as saliva and semen, but obviously in 1932, you know, there was no DNA testing.
No.
I mean, you're not. It's not like you can. I don't know.
Right.
Can you throw it under a microscope and find out who it came from if you're comparing two
Well,
samples?
there's no
I don't
way to
think that's a
do
thing.
DNA sequencing at that time. No.
No, I'm talking
You
about
used to
just
be able to
the
tell blood
physical.
types.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's no like anything that you can see that is unique under a microscope that would allow you to go, no, this is this guy's blood, or that's that guy's semen. That tastes infected. You know how it is.
Not back
Yeah.
then.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So anyway, so it says, of course, you know, no one had seen anyone go in or out of her apartment.
So
So
just
there
so you know,
was-
Buddha, the ABO blood groups were discovered by Austrian-born American biologist Carl Landsteiner in 1901.
Carl Weathers in 1901 for all of you that are out there listening.
Get to the chopper.
So it says, shit, now you made me lose my place.
Oh.
So no one had seen anyone go in or out of the apartment. There was no physical description of the attacker, and there had not been no one heard of any actual struggle or anything like that. So at this point, there was a complete lack of fingerprints of a possible perpetrator, and that kind of just left the police like a bit of physical evidence, but not really any real evidence that they could go off of. Which, if you think about, even if someone had been seen coming and going, I mean, the fact that she was a quote unquote call girl wouldn't really be that weird to have many gentlemen suitors coming all through the hours of the night. But I digress. Police were forced to do things the old-fashioned way by interviewing and interrogating every known person who had come in contact with Lily, and at that point, they just kind of focused on mostly her known clients. So it says in total, 9 of her clients were intensively questioned, but there was not really anything incriminating by any of them. Of course, they all denied having any contact with her. And with no proof or any even evidence against any of those clients, like they were unable to make an arrest. So Lily's final client still remains unknown, and the case is still unsolved, even though that the Atlas Vampire has become a hot talking point for just a lot of the people that are into the murder mystery, true crime stuff. And there's just been a bunch of theories thrown out. So being that one of them is that she was actually killed by a police officer who knew how to cover up his crime. Which that one, I wouldn't really think that would be that far-fetched, because, I mean, you're talking the 1930s. You pretty much have to be caught red-handed to be caught. 2, if you're a cop, I mean, dude, there's a shit ton of corruption in policing now. But you can imagine with, like, the lack of surveillance that there was in the 30s, just how much corruption and shit that's, been going on all behind closed doors, or people getting paid off, or just people not speaking up because, it's the police. What are you going to do? And on top of that, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess just even as a cop, if say that, that was an area of the city that you worked, you can even kind of like catch on different patterns of like who's home at this time, who's coming and going, just kind of, I guess, all of the normal routine stuff you might see if you were trying to do something fucking crazy. And who knows?
And also,
I mean,
who
if
would suspect a cop?
Exactly. Especially in the 30s.
Then, right. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
right.
Even as like, if she was like a prostitute, what if like she turned him down and then he was like, oh, I'm gonna get this bitch. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? We're just throwing shit out there. We're having fun.
I saw I forget, was it like a true crime show where somebody was doing, I don't know if they were murdering people or if they were doing something else, but they were like a serial whatever, but they got caught. But it was really hard to catch this person because they traveled for work. And so they would, when they were on their business trips, they were doing their crimes.
Oh, dude, I've seen a ton of what is that one show? I think it's like Evil Lives Here, I think is one of them. It's just like there's a handful of those about like people that live with people and then like their spouse or whatever is actually like a serial killer. And it's a lot of stuff like that where like they're truckers and they're gone all the time so that they're never like laying down roots. No, they're not going to the same places.
Yeah.
Or like they work oddball hours. But a lot of the people on that show are just like so blissfully ignorant. Like the fucking red flags were there the whole time. And they're like, he showed up with blood all over his clothes at 3 a.m. And he just said, it's nothing to worry about. So I said, it's nothing to worry about. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But anyway, yeah, there's always fucking signs. It just depends if you choose to see them or not.
Right.
But so two more theories were that, it could have just been a drifter that was just kind of rolling through Stockholm. And of course, the craziest of them all is it was a real vampire. But shockingly, there's no evidence to point to that one as being the case. And it says, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just got, this is pretty much the end of it.
Yep.
And it just kind of says like a lot of the circumstances that were still surrounding the murder are still just kind of baffling, as in like, what happened to the missing blood? Did the perpetrator actually drink it? Did they put it in some containers? Like, I don't know what would be the reasoning to do that. Was it being removed as she was still alive? Was she already dead and then that happened? How was the blood removed? And it's just kind of like, why did the killer leave the ladle behind if like they otherwise seem to be a fucking neat freak? Maybe it's just like a sign, like, you can't fucking catch me or whatever.
Right.
And then even just with the fact that like nowadays they have modern day forensics, but everything that they have from the 30s is like so degraded and contaminated by this point. Like it's not like, they'd even really be able to get a solid test and maybe throw it up on Ancestry and see if they get any matches from it. And they actually have like a little, I don't know if it's in a museum or like a memorial, but they have like evidence from this case that's like kind of like set up in like a little way that you can view it there. But yeah, I mean, that's
over in Sweden.
Yes.
Right.
I'm actually shocked. What I was going to say real quick is I thought for sure one of the theories was going to be a doctor, someone with some kind of medical experience. Someone that's neat, someone that knew how to do that, someone that was very careful with it. I mean, I find it interesting because I got to give the killers and crazy people some credit. Back in the early days, they were creative. Like this story right here, you have the torso killer in Cleveland, how he meticulously cut people up, and they thought he was definitely a doctor. You had Jack the Ripper, which he kind of just stabbed people. But did you find it interesting how a lot of these stories happened and they didn't just kill the people, they did stuff like this to them back in the day?
There was actually another one that was more recent. I think it was like the 2000s that was either in New York or Chicago, and they literally called him like the whatever area Ripper. Like it was like another one doing some kind of crazy torso murder type shit.
Oh, I think you're right about that. I do remember that. Yeah, like early 2000s or something, mid 2000s.
Let's see. I don't remember where it was, but yeah, it was definitely like, because Jack the Ripper was like early 1900s, wasn't he? Or was he late
1800s? I think late 1800s in London.
Yeah, I knew it was like super fucking long time ago. Didn't they say that there was like a theory that he actually, the reason his shit stopped is because he left and came to America?
There were some theories about that. Yeah, then it started, like, stuff started here.
What is that?
What the fuck are you doing?
It did make it on the air. Sorry.
What?
Anyway.
Sorry, it was muted. It just...
You did not. Oh.
It was called a Ripper sound effect.
Oh,
Nice.
is that what the... Oh,
Jesus.
God. Definitely a different kind of Ripper.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, now now John's got a new sound effect.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, dude, I agree though, Dan. Like a lot of the people that do commit that kind of stuff, like they are extremely intelligent and skilled, you know.
Right.
Well,
no,
like I said, that one right there. Yeah.
But here's the thing: they always say like, that they were like, you had said they were more creative. Maybe we just weren't skilled enough in finding these people, and it wasn't really creativity. It was just we didn't have the tools and the technology to identify these people.
Well, I meant creativity in how they killed the people. That's what I meant. Like, you know, the torso guy cutting people in half and their heads, you know, draining the blood in other places and then leaving the bodies. Or the Black Dahlia over in California. That's another one. They think that might have been connected to the torso
Yeah.
killer.
That the guy bounced back and forth between
Yep.
Cleveland and Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But you know,
Sorry, I
did
ruined
not,
it, Buddha.
I did not know they had condoms in the 30s, and I also
I was gonna say the same fucking thing.
I don't think anyone else in the 30s knew they had condoms.
I thought that was like an invention in the 50s or 60s, man.
No,
Well,
they were
definitely
using
wasn't
lambskin. 1800s. In 1839,
I should have known this,
inventor
right? I should have known this shit.
Well, this here has a backyard.
Guys didn't catch on to that.
Oh no, it says right here, condoms were made from bladder and dating to the 1640s.
Yeah.
Dutch traders introduced condoms made from fine leather.
Were they reusable?
I don't know.
Did the person have a dick afterward?
The
Fine leather, man. Oh, sorry.
Oh God, it's going off the rails tonight. Oh,
How did we go from vampires to that?
Because you said
yeah.
you said I didn't think they had condoms in the 30s, and I was going to actually say that when you were telling the story, but I didn't want to bring it up. But
let's see. In 1839, inventor Charles Goodyear discovered rubber vulcanization, the technology which led to the creation of the first rubber condoms in 1855. Given that they were the thickness of a bicycle inner tube and had to be custom fitted, they were more than a little cumbersome.
You think?
Custom fitted.
Just wrap it in a t-shirt.
They didn't have T-shirts back then either, though. Sorry, going from.
It was all
Are you,
wool.
Buddha? Are you going for your fitting this weekend?
Custom made.
oh,
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
All right. Dan.
all right. Well, yes, of course.
All right.
My favorite. Now, my story is going to take obviously quite a different turn from what we were just talking about there. It's not even actually a story. It's more of kind of an educational piece. And I hope I don't put too many listeners or you guys to sleep. So I apologize if I do, because it might be kind of boring to some people. But it's kind of an awareness thing of where the auto industry is going. Auto industry is going in a lot of different areas, but this is one part of it. Kind of talked about it in the past. I'll try to keep it kind of quick. I won't go on too long with it. But it has to do with autonomous vehicles. I know I've talked about Tesla in the past, and mostly when you hear about self-driving cars, really the only car that comes to mind is Tesla in most people's minds. But it is getting rapidly going to be moving into other vehicles and other cars other than Tesla. It's already kind of starting now. But
other cars have self-parallel parking on a lot of higher end models.
They have correct, and that's not considered autonomous driving, but you're right. They've had that for years, actually. And then they have adaptive cruise control like you and me have on our cars, which that is actually a level of autonomous driving, adaptive cruise control. And what I'll do real quick is, and I'll just go over these real quick, just to kind of educate our listeners and you guys on what the 5 levels of autonomous driving are. Real quick. Level 0, no automation at all. It's literally you driving the car back and forth. You know, you're doing all the work, you're steering, everything.
Next up is called automation.
Did I say that? Automation. I'm sorry. Did I say that?
Yeah.
I apologize. Yes.
Anyway, automation.
Anyway, so that's level 0. Well, they believe it or not, they actually have level 0. But the next one is level 1. Level 1 is kind of like what you and me, John, what we have in our cars, adaptive cruise control, where the car will drive, it'll only brake and accelerate. You still have to keep your hands on the wheel, you still have to be completely alert. That's really level 1 right there. That's what that does. And some lane changing, things like that, but for the most part, you're still driving the car. Level 2 is where we start talking about Tesla. Level 2, you have to be alert, a driver has to be in the seat, but at this point, you can take your hands off. They still want you to be alert. They have cameras. Some cars want you to keep your hand like near the steering wheel or on the steering wheel, and our camera facing your eyes to make sure you're looking at the road. But the car will steer and brake and accelerate itself. That's where we're pretty much at right now, is level 2. And GM has level 2. They have something called Super Cruise. Ford has just introduced something called Blue Cruise on the F-150. So that's pretty much where we're at with that one. Now the next level up is level 3. It's very similar to level 2. Level 3, big difference is the driver still has to be in the car, still has to be sitting in the seat, but they don't have to put their hand on the steering wheel. The car starts making some more decisions. It'll drive around a slow moving car. It'll, it makes some decisions, but however, the driver, there's no backup systems, and the driver still has to, basically stay alert. One of the things that I will say level 3 uses is, John, do you know what LiDAR stands for?
No.
That's the shit that they use when they're like flying overhead and they'll like look for shit underground and stuff.
Correct. It's used in that particular way. It stands for light detection and ranging. And what Buddha said that's one use for it. The car companies are using it for mapping. So they map out hundreds and hundreds of thousands of millions of miles of highways and roads, and they use the LiDAR mapping. They have a sensor, a laser in the front of the car that talks to the GPS, talks to all the cameras, and it puts together a formula to keep the car on the road and drive itself, because it knows basically what's coming up as far as the way the road is made up. A lot of companies are starting to use that LiDAR mapping right now, and that's level 3.
I have a question. So
yeah.
As far as like the whole like having to keep like like you said, you have to be making eye contact and whatnot.
Correct.
What is it actually used to monitor that?
It has a camera. So for example, General Motors has a little facing camera that sticks up on the top of the steering column, and this little camera faces the driver. So if you turn your eyes, if you turn, oh, I'm hearing myself.
Hold on. There you go. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, no, that's
We
all
have
right.
somebody in the
So if
chat room, but I wanted to let you keep going.
Okay, I can't see any of that, so let me
Yeah.
know. But so basically, yeah, what we got going on is if you turn your for General Motors system, if you like say you fall asleep and you are not the car starts screaming at you to starts dinging, it makes noises, it wants you to obviously pay attention. If you don't open your eyes within, I think it's 30 or 40 seconds, I could be wrong on that, the car will basically pull itself over onto a berm and call OnStar.
Dude, that's
because
a
at that
long
point the
fucking
car,
time
yeah, well, 40 seconds. I mean,
for something to
if
happen.
something happens, huh?
For something to happen, 30 to 40 seconds is a long time.
Well, the car's still driving itself in that time frame.
Right.
So I'm saying the car doesn't stop driving itself. It's still driving itself. It just wants you to open your eyes again and take control of the car again. If you don't open your eyes and take control, the car actually pulls itself off the road and then calls not 911, but calls OnStar.
Hey, Dan, can we pause for a second?
Sure.
We have in the chat, so I don't, Buddha, did you see who's in the chat tonight?
Bob T.
Yes, we have a Type 3 original member in the chat tonight. Bob, can you hear me?
Nice.
He's muted himself. Let's see if he takes himself off. Bob? He popped in. That's why you heard yourself, so. Bob, you still got it on mute? I think. Oh, nope, he's gone away. He pranked me yet again.
Did he have a question or?
No, it was cool to see he popped in. I don't know, Bob. If you can click the link again, but we'll see if he pops back in. But
Gotcha. Yeah. So did that make sense, though, Buddha? The way I explained it.
Yeah, but I'm curious if how, like, I'm assuming if it's just using a camera, is there a way to fake that?
Funny you asked that because I believe it was, I don't know if it was Consumer Reports or Popular, one of the magazines actually did a test, and the camera is good enough to even see through sunglasses normally, right? It can tell your retinas where you're looking, and it even can see through sunglasses. However, somebody did a test and they put on glasses with little pictures of eyeballs on them. And according to what I read, it fooled the system, and they were actually able.
Yeah.
Yes.
What if you wore those glasses with like the eyeballs on the springs?
I thought about that too.
It just takes over driving. It just thinks that you're drunk.
See, I still have zero faith in the self-driving thing.
Well, I'm with you. I'm actually with you, and that's one of the things I want to have a little. I'm going to debate it with you guys when I'm done with this, just to get your guys' opinion. But yeah, I'm definitely with you on that because it gets even worse. I mean, that's just level 3 I was talking about. Level 4, when you start getting into level 4, the car now, the driver does not even have to be alert at all. Level 4, the car is going to drive itself. It's going to accelerate, brake. It's going to make decisions. If the weather is good and if there's rain and snow and stuff like that, these systems won't even probably operate good because the cameras will have crap on them and things like that. Level 5 is the most ridiculous. A human doesn't even have to be in the car. The car is literally going to do everything. These are going to be, in the future, these are going to be your Uber cars and your Lyft rides, where the car will just go and pick somebody up and it'll take them to their destination. So there's a very good chance 20 years from now, you're going somewhere with your family and the car next to you is either there's somebody in it, but it's being driven by the car itself is driving itself, or there'll be nobody in it at all, and it'll be like an Uber car picking somebody up.
Right.
It's a very scary thought. And the researchers. Oh,
no, you're good.
Someone say something? Oh,
I was going to say it just seems kind of weird. Like, I get the concept of it, but at the same time, like, yet again, you're putting, with all this automation, you're putting all these fucking people out of jobs, and would that then be more of a waste and more pollution with cars driving around without people in them. I'm just curious because now, you have a car that's like people are all I don't really know what I'm trying to like how I'm trying to say it, but like do you think it would be more wasteful having a car driving around all the time without a person in it as opposed to like each person having their own car and driving it? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I mean, when we talk into the future, obviously 20 years from now, there is going to be, if everything goes the way they want it, the government and the car companies and everything, there's going to be tons and tons of electric cars on the road, supposedly polluting a lot less. Again, I say supposedly, and there's been evidence is going to take a long time.
That whole fucking argument makes zero sense because where the fuck do they think the fucking shit gets charged from?
Right.
It's nuclear power. It's like it's not like it's not like there's no fucking waste. That makes no sense at all.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And
there's no evidence yet.
Out in California, they banned
small engines.
Yeah, by like a certain was it like 2020?
I did not see that. No, I didn't hear that one.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Like the level 5 cars, these cars aren't going to even have steering wheels in them. They're not going to have pedals. They're literally just going to be there's going to be like a front end to it with nothing in it. And they'll just have some, a back seat. Some of these level 5 cars. The reason I brought this story up too, and that was just a very quick description of the 5 levels. But the reason I brought this up was because it's starting to move at rapid speed. General Motors last week announced. Remember I mentioned they had Super Cruise. Well, Super Cruise was only available on Cadillacs, a couple Cadillacs. Obviously, they're flagship cars. Well, and that means it limits how many people are going to actually buy it. It's an expensive option. People can't afford Cadillacs. Well, General Motors announced last week that they have a new system called Ultra Cruise. Ultra Cruise is still basically level 2, but Ultra Cruise is going to be exclusively to Cadillac. Again, Super Cruise is getting demoted down to the lower cars, Chevy, Buick, GMC. Those vehicles will be able to get the Super Cruise option, whereas Ultra Cruise will be exclusive to Cadillac in the next 3-4 years. And the difference basically is Ultra Cruise is going to be able to basically drive on all roads, where Super Cruise can only drive on highways. So your car will be able to basically pull up into your driveway for you. It'll be able to drive on side streets. So again, it's still level 2 because the person still has to be in the car. They still have to be watching the road and things like that. So we're not talking level 3 yet. But the reason I brought this up is between Ford with their Blue Cruise, between General Motors now going to be getting ready to demote Super Cruise to the lower cars. This and I'm not even talking about Kia and Hyundai and Subaru. They've got their own systems that are pretty close to level 2 as well. I didn't even get into those cars. But we're moving at such a rapid speed. Researchers say by 2025, approximately 8 million autonomous vehicles will be on the road. That's just by 2025. That's not that far ahead. I mean, think about the end of the decade. Think about 15, 20 years from now. And I want to bring up, because I agree with you, Buddha, 100%. I love technology in cars. I'm the first guy to admit it. But I do agree with you. Just even if you take out any other equation, how the hell lazy do people have to become where your car has to drive you everywhere? I think
I'm not the biggest fan of driving, like personally, but at the end of the day, I still prefer to be the one controlling the vehicle.
Right. Think about this. Oh, go ahead.
I understand the concept of it, and I can actually see how in situations, it can be a safety situation where it can be used. Like, for instance, like I'm going to be having surgery in December, and I'm not allowed to drive, but say I was alone or something like that, and I needed to go somewhere.
Right.
I could see how it's like, oh, well, I don't have to call anybody because I have a car that can drive me. And I'm not talking, cross country fucking trips, but just around town if you got to go to the store or whatever. I get that.
Yeah.
And even go a step further and say, like, if you want to be an irresponsible fuck, but you get hammered at the bar, okay, it'll drive you home. But this is like another thing is like, okay, so how many times does your GPS fail? I mean,
I was just
often enough that you'll go, ah, shit, it fucking happens enough that you know what I'm talking about. So
Right.
what about when that happens? What about when like just like any other piece of technology?
Every time you update something, what did you break elsewhere?
Yeah, like shit always
Right.
fucking goes wrong, and I'm not knocking the technology because clearly it's working, but I'm always on the skeptical side because technology hates me. So like, whose fault is it when like the car wrecks and you weren't driving, but you were sold a product that tells you don't have to?
Right, and that's the thing, to the insurance industry, me being in the insurance industry, that's going to have to be, at some point, looked at a lot more. I mean, it is looked at now, but it's going to really have to be looked at more seriously, and insurance rates are going to have to be adjusted, and claims will have to be figured out, because that's a great point. If the car's driving itself, well, you could blame the car and say, well, the car made a mistake and crashed into this other car, but there's where see, I'm okay with level 2. We mentioned the different levels because level 2, you still have to stay alert. I'm fine with level 2 cars. I would own one if I had one. I would own it. But where it starts getting to level 3, 4, 5, that's where I draw the line. You bring up a great, think about this. You're on the road. You're on a country road, right? 2-lane road. Speed limit's what? 55, 60 miles an hour. You got
Easily.
2 cars going easily, right? And all of a sudden the sensor malfunctions. The camera sees something it shouldn't, or something happens in because you're not steering the car. The electronic steering accidentally nudges your car right into an oncoming car. Well, guess what? You're probably both dead because you've hit each other going 160 miles an hour combined speed.
Well, I'm curious, like, so as far
Right.
as if it sees something, and however it reacts, is its only reaction to avoid an accident braking, or does it swerve? Like, what are like the parameters of what it's actually capable of as far as safety is concerned?
It depends on the system, and it depends on the level. I mean, right now, level 2, that's why you have to stay alert. Level 2 is not going to do that. Level 2 is not going to swerve. It will brake if it sees a car slam its brakes on in front of you, but it's not going to swerve out of the way. That's why you still have to completely stay alert on level 2 cars.
Yeah, but like what happens if you're behind like a truck or something that has like a bunch of shit in the back and it starts falling out all over the place?
Yeah, but there you go. Again, that's why the car. That's
exactly what I'm talking about. Like right now, we're talking about if another car is there. It's like that's not the only possible scenario on the road.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly why where I'm trying to. Right, exactly. That's why you still have to stay completely alert. That's why the car companies don't want. Right now it's not even legal. Level 3 is not even really legal in many places. In regions in the United States right now. Audi tried to bring over level 3, it's called traffic jam is what they call it. I think traffic, I can't remember the name of it, I'm sorry, but they tried to bring over level 3 back in 2018, and the United States said, no, there's too many regions that don't want that, it's not legal in. So Audi said the hell with it, they kept it in Europe, and they just brought the car over minus that technology with just level 2. But that's why you have to stay alert when you use these systems. Just like adaptive cruise control, same thing. I love my adaptive cruise control. When I'm on a freeway, I use it all the time.
So what cars are using this kind of technology right now other than Tesla?
Level 2, Cadillac.
Okay, what models?
Right now, the Cadillac CT... Well, the CT6 was the first one that used it. The CT6 has been discontinued. But you can get in the Escalade, the brand new Escalades. And I believe the XT6. It's an option on XT6. The new Hummer coming out will have Super Cruise when it comes out. And I believe the Chevy Silverado, they're talking about it being going to be available on the Silverado.
Oh, right on.
So it's
any other non-GM cars that you know of?
Well, the Ford F Series they're gonna start offering Blue. They call it Blue Cruise.
Of course.
So. Yeah,
Blues
so
Cruise,
right.
Blues Cruise.
But yeah, so there's that's all right. But yeah, and the thing is, they're talking about, and I always forget how to pronounce this. Is it NVIDIA? Is that the system? The graphics card?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA. Okay, I always forget how to. They actually announced an AI computer that's going to help achieve level 5 when the level 5 cars come out, where drivers basically just plug in their destination and leave it up to the vehicle. You don't have to do anything. You just put in on your
Will it have a
system
steering
where
wheel?
you right. That you don't even need a steering wheel.
Will
The car
it
will just
have
take
one,
you
then?
where it's got to go. No. Level 5 cars is complete autonomy. It's complete automation, and there's no steering wheel, there's no pedals, no brakes, no nothing. I mean, I'm sure they could probably put them in the cars, but there's going to be absolutely no need for it.
Who is actually comfortable enough with just completely relinquishing all of their control to a robot?
Right. That's why I say. And that's why I wanted your guys' input on it. Buddha, you kind of gave your idea of it, what you thought, and I'm good with level 2, but that's where I would stop. That's where I think after level 2, it shouldn't be anything. What do you think, John?
I would probably agree with you. Yeah, level 2.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, movies from the 80s that always talked about robots, and we've touched on this before, but, like, have you guys seen, like, a few years ago when they first, like, released that robot dog?
Yeah,
I think I remember, yeah.
Boston Dynamics
Yes,
robot
yes.
that, like, jumps and does backflips, between,
Yes.
like, 4-foot gaps.
Dude, so, like, these things have gotten, like, pretty fucking, like, much more advanced since. And, like, they have, like, here's one that they're using in hospitals, and it says, like, it's built on the dog, and they're using it can measure temperature, breathing rate, pulse, blood oxygen saturation, and they're made to just go room to room and, like, check on patients. And now they're trying to use them to, like, deal with the whole COVID shit. But on top of that, the craziest thing that I just saw is, so people can buy those now. Like, the robots are now available to the public. They're like $75,000. I don't really know what the fuck you would do with them. But
which ones? The dog or the human-sized one?
no, the Boston Dynamic dog.
Okay.
But what was the other? Oh yeah, so also they have they've started mounting rifles to these fucking dogs. So, I mean, dude, I know everybody makes the joke about Skynet, but it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, why? Like, why is this a
Right.
thing? And, like, at that point, it's like, okay, well, now you basically just made a drone, or not, it's not a drone, but, it's essentially an unmanned robot that has guns.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, that's fucking cool, but, like, why?
Right. Like that, I was reading a story or heard a story about, how there's a shortage of people in the food industry, waitresses, cooks, all that stuff. This restaurant, I don't think it was in Ohio. I don't know where it was, maybe New York or something. They actually have a robot.
Yeah, they're like 150 grand. I saw those.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, the person, it just goes up to the person that hands them doesn't hand it to them, but they just reach in and grab their
Yeah, it serves
coffee
them
and their
pizza.
food. And,
Yeah.
yeah. It's crazy. But that's the thing too. That's the reason I brought this story up, is because we're moving, kind of like Buddha said, we're moving at rapid speed, and this is no longer just Tesla. This is no longer just that's a futuristic. When Knight Rider was on back in my heyday of the '80s, my favorite decade, when that show was on, self-driving cars.
You said the 70s was your favorite decade.
No. The 80s is definitely my favorite decade for sure. Because I was... That's the only thing I like from the 70s is the Rockford Files. But anyway...
and the hairstyles.
No, I don't like the hairstyles. Though I do got some pretty long sideburns rocking right now. But
Do you?
Yeah.
Like
Hell yeah.
chops?
No,
They're not quite chops, but they're they're about to the length of my ear. So they're pretty long.
Yeah. What was I going to ask you, Dan? Well, it was about the autonomous. It was about the autonomous dog, or the waiter. But I don't know. I fucking forgot. Fuck. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really read too much into the story of the waiter, but I just happened to see something about it, and because they said this is what they can do now because
I know where I was going with this now. It was kind of off subject, and I don't know if you're okay with me diverting away from it.
That was pretty much my story. I just wanted to get everyone's opinion. That was the, yep.
I have one more thing to add. So the technology firm that is actually the whole dog robot gun thing, it was unveiled at the AUSA 2021 convention. So this just happened, I think it was actually this week. Yeah, it would have been this week. It says technology firm Ghost Robotics has unveiled a new version of its robot dog, or a quadrupedal unmanned ground vehicle equipped with a 6.5 millimeter Creedmoor assault rifle round. For those that aren't familiar, a 6.5 millimeter Creedmoor is almost the same size as a 308. It's like damn fucking. It's a little bit smaller, but it's a decent sized round for that dog to be running around with.
Not only that,
definitely.
but like between what they're putting on those, and have you seen in these mirrorless cameras the eye tracking? So
like the stuff they're using in China?
Well, it's like when you're in photography, like one of the points that you always kind of want to lock on is somebody's eye for focus. And so they've built into these, mirrorless cameras in some of these higher end mirrorless SLRs that it has automatic eye tracking. So like in my camera, I actually have to move the focus point, and then, once I move it to where I want it, then I hit the autofocus, it locks focus, and then I take the picture. Well, this thing will basically find somebody's eye, and it'll just track and follow it. It's freaking crazy.
That's exactly what, and I didn't use that terminology, but that's exactly what, because Buddha was asking about the Cadillac. That's what that does.
And so, like, if they're putting, they're going to know exactly where to shoot somebody with these things. Because they're just going to find somebody's eye or find a point, that it looks for on every person. And if it doesn't like what it sees, out go the lights. It's fucking scary.
Yeah, the whole thing is. That's why, like I said, I wanted to, kind of talk it over and see. I think it's
New York City also had these robotic dogs, and they didn't stop using it.
I don't know. I didn't even know they had them.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't either.
what was it? Let me see here, New York. Yeah, New York City robotic dog. It's cut short after fierce backlash. Let's see here. This is New York Times, reputable news source.
Well, New York likes pissing money away on stupid shit, so.
When the police department acquired a robotic dog last year, officials heralded the four-legged device as a futuristic tool that could go places where too dangerous to send officers. This dog is going to save lives. Inspector Frank Diacomo, the department's technical assistant response unit, said in a television interview, it's going to protect people, it's going to protect officers. Instead, the machine, which was named DigiDog, became the source of a heated debate. After it was being deployed as part of response to a home invasion in Bronx, February critics likened it to a dystopian surveillance drone. And when officers used it at a public housing building in Manhattan this month, a backlash erupted again, with some people describing the device as emblematic of how overly aggressive the police can be when dealing with poor communities. But yeah, so they did have a robotic dog in New York, and they are not using it anymore.
Wow.
Actually, I do vaguely remember hearing about that now.
So
Okay, so that was at least 75,000 that they just went, don't need it anymore.
I was going to parlay into some of the talk about the new Matrix movie, but I don't know if I want to go there.
Never saw it.
It hasn't come out yet.
No, any of them.
You never saw any of the Matrix movies?
No.
Really?
Why does everybody say
I saw
that?
I saw the first one, and I was rather drunk when I watched it, so I don't really remember too much of it.
All right. Well, then never mind. Well, then I'll just lead into mine, and we'll be in and out here tonight. So this one isn't a long one, but obviously you guys know the fat man and the little boy, right? The two nuclear bombs that have been dropped. All right, so just give you a quick background and, again, a little history lesson for anybody listening that doesn't know. The little boy was the first nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima on August 6th, 1945. Let me see. I'm making sure that because I'm saying this off the top of my head here. Of course, now I lost my place. Yes, August 6th, 1945. It was dropped on Hiroshima, and it was let's see here, a 15 kiloton nuclear bomb. So 15 kilotons of TNT was the equivalent to it. It contained 64 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, and it's named for the first two atomic bomb designs based on their shapes. The Fat Man and the Thin Man was a long device, and it came from the Dashiell Hammett detective novel, the series of movies about the Thin Man. Anyway, let's see here. Where I was going with this was I wanted to compare against other nuclear bombs, and there's actually a kind of an interesting site. I don't know if either of you guys have ever been on. It's called Nuke Map.
No, but there's actually a video, I think it's on YouTube, that shows the progression of all the sizes of bombs since then.
Right. And
it's crazy how far we've come.
And so I'm just going to, I put here, on Nuke Map, and this is nuclearsecrecy.com. You might also try Missile Map, but basically what it is you can plug in a location, and then you can see the effects of what would happen if you selected each one of these different bombs. And so right now, let's say we detonated the Fat Man. And so I'm bringing that up here. Nagasaki bomb, right? Oh, little boy. Hiroshima bomb, 15 kiloton bomb. We set it over Cleveland, our hometown, right? And that was to go off today. And it's calculating right now. But 15 kilotons was the smallest one. Well, not smallest on record. There was another one smaller. But estimated fatalities, anybody want to guess?
Was it based on Cleveland's population? Because there ain't too many people in Cleveland.
Yeah.
All of it.
I would say 100,000.
All right. So, let's see here. 405,400. Estimated injuries, 484,370. The blast radius would be about 340 meters. This is if it was detonated an airburst, which is above, where they detonate the bomb above the land, so that it creates the most concussion. The fireball radius was about 180 meters. The radiation radius was about 1.2 kilometers. And moderate blast damage was about 1.67. Third degree burns would be about 1.91 kilometers away from it. And large blast damage radius would be about 4.52 kilometers. So you would see the fireball pretty much engulf the entire city of Cleveland. So.
Wow.
All right. Let's step it up a notch here. And let's go to... let's see. Okay. The largest currently in Russian arsenal is an 800 kiloton. It's called the Topol. 800 kiloton. You ready for this? Yeah. We're going to detonate it over Cleveland here. It has to do the calculation. All right.
What's it basing it off of? Like Cleveland's population, or is it just? Does it know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that was kiloton. Actually, let's go to the largest bomb. It's called the SAR bomb, and it's 100 megatons, so bigger than the kilotons. All right, you ready? Because that one didn't shock me as much as the other one. All right. Holy shit. All right, estimated fatalities, 906,090. Estimated injuries, 1,474,070. The fireball pretty much goes, I'm zooming in here, and obviously if it was detonated over downtown Cleveland, I can't, like, I'm colorblind here, so the thermal third degree burns would reach all the way out till probably way past Strongsville. So
That's what I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so we definitely get third degree burns where we're living. The fireball radius is about 6.1 kilometers. So probably into like Garfield Heights, would you say? But yeah.
I think, well, Garfield's closer to Cleveland than we are.
6.1 kilometers. Can either of you bring up a kilometer to miles conversion?
I thought it was like just under, isn't it? Yeah, 1 kilometer is 0.62 miles.
So 3 miles away from downtown. Is that what it's saying the fireball radius would be? 6.1.
6.1?
Yeah. 6.5.
3.79 miles.
Yeah, so
that would...
just outside of Garfield Heights where we grew up. But so yeah, 906,000 estimated fatalities. Thermal radiation, obviously we would be third degree burns. We are definitely in that area.
I'm always in my basement, so I wouldn't be.
It goes all the way past Akron.
Wow.
Okay.
And then the blast radius would have been felt 91.8 past Canton. So, and if this Tsar bomb got detonated over Cleveland, it would definitely, like, the extent of it would hit into Michigan, over the lake.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, to think.
Is that in an artillery right now? Is that something in like another country, or is that just?
Well, it's a USSR bomb, so I don't know if it's still. I mean, it was part of the Soviet Union, but yeah, I'm looking here. Largest U.S. bomb tested. This was 15 megatons. So we haven't tested anything. Over 15 megatons. So let's just do that. I mean,
have you ever seen that story of the dude that survived both atomic bombs?
Oh man. So wait, he was in Hiroshima and then in Nagasaki.
And then Nagasaki.
The next day or 2 days? Was it like 3 days later?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the fat man went off on the 9th. Yeah. So 3 days later.
How the hell did he survive that?
I'll pull it up real quick.
Was he able to shoot lasers out of his eyes?
No, but I think he has a cane.
But yeah, this is insane. Like, and to think, imagine a fireball that just, engulfs a city that you're living in, like, completely wipes it out.
Here, so this is the very, very brief. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was preparing to leave Hiroshima when the atomic bomb fell. The 29-year-old naval engineer was on a 3-month-long business trip for his employer, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. On August 6, 1945, was supposed to be his last day in the city. And it says he was basically looking forward to returning home to his wife. Around 8:15 that morning, he was walking to Mitsubishi's shipyard for the final time, heard the aircraft overhead, looked skyward, saw an American B-29 bomber, dropped a small object connected to a parachute. The sky erupted in a blaze of light, which Yamaguchi later described as resembling the lightning of a huge magnesium flare, in which he had just enough time to dive into a ditch before an ear-splitting boom rang out. The shockwave accompanied it, sucked Yamaguchi from the ground, spun him in the air like a tornado, and sent him hurtling into a nearby potato patch. He'd been less than 2 miles from ground zero. And then says he said, I didn't know what happened. I think I fainted for a while. I opened my eyes. Everything was dark. I couldn't see. Let's see. It was like the start of a film at the cinema where the picture is begun when the blank frames are just flashing up without any sound. The atomic blast kicked up enough dust and debris to nearly blot out the morning sun, and he was surrounded by torrents of falling ash. Could see a mushroom cloud of fire rising in the sky over Hiroshima. His face and forearms had been badly burned, and both his eardrums were ruptured. So then he wanders down, gets into like an air raid shelter. They woke up the next day, got on the train, went to the train station, which was somehow still operating. And it says the journey took them through a landscape of still flickering fires, shattered buildings, charred and melted corpses lining the streets. Many of the city's bridges had been turned into a twisted wreckage, and one river crossing, Yamaguchi was forced to swim through a layer of floating dead bodies. Upon reaching the station, he boarded a train full of burned and bewildered passengers and settled in for his overnight ride to his hometown of Nagasaki. While Yamaguchi returned to his wife and child, the whole world turned its attention towards Hiroshima. 16 hours after the explosion was when Truman came out and said that basically they revealed the existence of the atom bomb. A B-29 bomber called the Enola Gay had taken off from the Pacific Island and flown... Oh, we read that part already. The blast killed some 80,000 people, and tens of thousands more would perish in the weeks that followed. And then he arrived in Nagasaki early in the morning of August 8th, limped to the hospital. The doctor that treated him was a former classmate. Let's see, didn't even recognize him because his blackened burns on his hands and face were so severe. His family didn't recognize him. And when he returned home afterwards, he was feverish and swaddled in bandages. It says his mother accused him of being a ghost.
Jeez.
And then, despite being on the verge of collapse, he dragged himself out of bed on August 9th, reported for work at Mitsubishi's Nagasaki office. They gave a report on Hiroshima and
Dude
recounted
still
the
went
event.
to work on the 9th?
Right, sorry. Called off atomic bomb. It says they recounted the events of August 6th with the work. His work superior accused him of being mad. How could a single bomb destroy an entire city? Yamaguchi was trying to explain it until when the landscape outside suddenly exploded with another iridescent white flash. Yamaguchi dropped to the ground seconds before the shockwave shattered office windows, sent broken glass and debris careening through the room. And he said, I thought the mushroom cloud had followed me from Hiroshima.
Wow. Holy
And
shit.
that bomb that hit Nagasaki was more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. And as he would learn, the city's hilly landscape and reinforced stairwell had combined to muffle the blast inside the office. His bandages were blown off. He was hit by yet another surge of cancer-causing radiation and emerged relatively unhurt. For the second time in 3 days, he's had the misfortune of being within 2 miles of a nuclear explosion. For the second time, he'd been fortunate enough to survive. Yeah, dude, pretty fucking crazy. I mean, then it just goes on to talk about he rushed home to check on his wife and son, saw the section of their house had been reduced to rubble, but he found both of them sustained only superficial injuries. His wife had been out looking for burn ointment when the explosion came, and her and the baby had taken refuge in a tunnel. So just kind of fucking wild, man. This dude had like the worst luck and the best luck.
Yeah.
How old did he live long to?
He lived pretty old. Let me see if it says at the end of the article. It says, in the days that followed, a double dose of radiation took its toll. His hair fell out, his wounds on his arms turned gangrenous, and he began vomiting. He was still in a bomb shelter August 15th when Japan announced the surrender. He basically said he didn't even really give a fuck. He was all fucked up. Let's see, where does it talk about? So he was still alive in 2006, where he was giving a speech talking about surviving two atomic bombs and surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at like moderate blast damage. So
he died at 93.
Wow.
Wow.
In 2010.
Crazy.
2010.
Wow, he's only been gone 11 years. A long time.
Man.
Wow.
I thought that radiation would sure take him out.
So I'm looking here at the North Korean weapon tested in 2017 is 150 kilotons. Moderate blast damage. At 5 psi overpressure, most residential buildings collapse. Injuries are universal. Fatalities are widespread. The chances of fire starting in commercial and residential damages are high, and buildings so damaged are at a high risk of spreading in fire. Often used as a benchmark for moderate damage in cities, optimal height to burst maximize this effect is 1.66 kilometers. And so so let's say the bomb that North Korea tested in 2017 were to hit over here, we would be just outside the moderate blast damage area. No, we'd be in it. And then the thermal radiation would be, well, let's see. I'm sorry. Light blast damage area we would be in 10.5 kilometers. No, the thermal. This thing is color coded really weird. So, and I'm not the best judge of color, but long story short, we would feel the effects of it here, down by us near Parma Heights, Bravia Heights area. Crazy to think like one bomb could do that much damage, and how the world is always at this like. I mean, what's the atomic clock at right now?
I have no idea.
Let's see. Current time, the doomsday clock is set to... Oh, great. 100 seconds till midnight. That is terrible. Let's see.
What do you mean 100 seconds till midnight?
So, do you know what the doomsday clock is?
I really don't, actually.
So it's basically it's a symbol created by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, and basically midnight is when the world is on the brink of nuclear war, and so it's moved several times throughout the years, and so in 2020 it moved to 100 seconds till midnight. In 20, let's see, it was at 7 seconds till midnight. Or 7 minutes till midnight. 1995, it was at 14. In 1991, it was at 17 minutes till midnight. Moved back quite a bit. And so, and I'll just go over the quick. So it was created in 1947. It was set at 7 minutes till midnight. And so, again, when the clock strikes midnight, that's when people say nuclear wars. We're on the brink of nuclear war throughout the world. It fluctuated at its lowest point. We are at its lowest point here that it's ever been. It's, but at its highest point, it was at 15 minutes till midnight. Let's see.
Well, society as a
17.
whole is pretty much at its lowest point right now,
Right. Yeah,
especially for intelligence.
So in 1991, it moved at 17 minutes till midnight from 10 minutes at 1990. 1990, the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain, along with the reunification of Germany, meant the Cold War was nearing its end. In 91, it moved back another 7 minutes due to the United States and Soviet Union signed the first Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, and the Soviet Union dissolves on December 26th. And then from 1991 to 1995, it goes back up 3 minutes. It says global military spending continues at a Cold War levels amid concerns about a post-Soviet nuclear proliferation and weapons of brain power. 1998, it goes up another 5 minutes from 14 to 9 minutes. Both India and Pakistan test nuclear weapons in a tit-for-tat show of aggression. The United States and Russia run into difficulties in further reducing stockpiles. We lose another 2 minutes in 2002. Little progress on global nuclear disarmament. United States rejects a series of arms control treaties and announces intentions to withdraw from the anti-ballistic missile treaty amid concerns about the possibility of a nuclear terrorist attack due to the amount of weapon-grade nuclear materials that are unsecured and unaccounted for worldwide. In 2007, we moved back another 2 minutes. North Korea tests a nuclear weapon in October. Iran's nuclear ambitions and a renewed American emphasis on the military brings that clock forward. In 2010, we go back a minute from 5 to 6. Worldwide cooperation to reduce nuclear arsenals and limit the effect of climate change. 2012, we go back a minute. Lack of global political action to address global climate change. I don't know what that has to do with, nuclear stockpiles, but whatever. Then we lose another 2 minutes in 2015. Concerns amid the continued lack of global political action to address climate change. So I don't know how much this has to do with nuclear weapons at this point. It looks like more propaganda, potentially. Who knows? United States President Donald Trump in 2017 comments over nuclear weapons and the threat of a renewed arms race between the U.S. and Russia, and the expressed disbelief in the scientific consensus over climate change by the Trump administration. So they moved it again another 30 seconds. So we went from 3 minutes to 2.5 minutes. 2018, more looming threats of nuclear, move it up another 30 seconds. So we're at 2 minutes. And then they took another third off, 20 seconds in 2020. Failure of world's leaders to deal with the increased threats of nuclear war, such as the end of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty between the United States and Russia, as well as increased tensions between U.S. and Iran, along with the continued neglect of climate change. Announced in the units of seconds instead of minutes, this is the clock's closest approach to midnight, exceeding the 1953 threat in 2018. The bulletin concluded by stating that the current issues causing the adjustment are the most dangerous situation that humanity has ever faced. In 2020, the bullet reaffirmed the 100 seconds to midnight time setting. So, yeah, pretty scary.
Well, I mean, it's all bullshit. It's just some other fucking... Who the fuck gets to decide? It's some random guy.
I was going to ask that same
like,
question.
Oh, I get to move that.
No, it's a group of nuclear scientists.
Yeah, nuclear scientists, they're not fucking sitting behind each world leader like, you going to press the button now? You going to press the button? It's fucking propaganda.
Where was that list at in the early 60s, though, like in 62, when people were building bunkers and that?
1960, it moved from 2 minutes to 7 minutes. 63, it moved from 7 to 12. And then in 68, it moved from 12 to 7.
Because there was a real threat back then, a real threat. I mean, people were scared. I was not around, believe it or not. But
I think the thing about that, though, is that there was still like this awareness of what happened in Japan. And so people were still feeling the effects. People knew that it was still fresh, and people that were making decisions then saw the effects of what happened back in, the end of World War II. So it could be that's why they were a little more less free with moving the dial, potentially.
Well, the problem now is like so many countries have nuclear weapons that with all the different fucking, treaties and who all's allies with everybody else, like the second one fucking country drops a bomb, every other country's going to jump in and then they're just going to destroy the fucking planet. So with that happening, I don't really think there's ever going to be a fucking nuclear bomb dropped, because whatever nation does that is just going to get fucking obliterated by every
It's like everything
nation.
is at the OK
That's
Corral
what I
and
said.
everybody's got their guns out pointed at each other.
Exactly.
First person to fire, everybody else
they
is
all
firing.
shoot each other.
Yeah.
That's why they're...
Right.
Not to go off on like a tangent, but that's why they have this straight fucking globalist agenda that's being pushed so fucking hard. Like, hey, why don't we just say fuck all the people and just get all the world leaders on board working together? That's all that's really just that shit. There's not going to be a fucking nuclear war.
Because everyone's going to be gone, right?
All right. Well, to end that on the show on a somber note,
the world would be much happier if everybody listened to ska.
That is which bands?
The bands that I like,
of course.
Which are what, 2?
All right, everybody, you have to listen to Less Than Jake. You have to listen to Old Goldfinger. And you have to listen to Real Big Fish. And then they're not ska, but you can listen to Millencolin. And that's good enough to get you started.
The Buddha starter kit.
well.
Of enjoying life.
Well, we'll pick it back up again next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully it'll be a little cooler, a little closer to fall. I mean, we're already in fall, but don't feel like it. But yeah, so for Dan Rady, Steve Gibson, Robert Tobacash, Lawrence of The Simpson in the chat room, keeping it moving tonight. And everyone out there in the Type 3 TV ecosphere. Till next time, say goodnight, Buddha.
Good night, Buddha.